Welcome to everyone who's attending this AI summit on how to build an AI first enterprise. This summit is being hosted by Abacus.AI. I'm the CEO, co-founder of Abacus, and by AI Camp. Bill is on the line as well. Thanks everyone for attending the summit. So the first session is going to be around marketing. We're going to get started pretty quickly. Also, just so that everyone knows, a couple of quick things around logistics. One, please post any questions that you may have in the Q&A section of the Zoom. You'll find that on the bottom right corner, as well as there's going to be a raffle at the end of the panel. Bill is going to run that. Anybody who tweets about the summit will be entered into the raffle. You can tweet about the summit with the hashtag AI First and tag our website, AIFirstEnterprise.ai. And happy to get started. The first panel is how AI can turbocharge your marketing efforts. We're very, very honored and privileged to have three AI and marketing thought leaders with us. We have Amit Shah, who's the president of 1-800-Flowers. We have Josh Kivenko, who's the Chief Marketing Officer for Lifesize and Serenova. And we have Suku Krishnaraj, who is the Chief Marketing Officer for Sumo Logic. So we have a diversity of thought leadership here, in the sense that Amit's kind of a leader at a B2C company, and Josh and Suku, who are kind of leaders in B2B companies. I'm going to have Amit, Josh, and Suku in that order introduce themselves, but also tell us a little bit more about how they perceive AI and marketing, maybe share an anecdote with us on the success or failure of AI for that matter, and get going that way. So Amit, the floor is all yours, and thank you for coming.
Yeah, thank you so much. First of all, would like to welcome, I think we have 146 and counting, so a lot of people from around the world. So it's so great to see all of you all on the conversation. So appreciate it. My name is Amit. I lead a company called 1-800-Flowers. We are the world's leading gifting platform, around 15 brands, everything from flowers, which is sort of a main floral brand, to Harry and David, which is a fruit gifting iconic brand. And then we also have a personalization universe that we just acquired actually in the middle of the pandemic, which allows us to do personalized gifting. So anyways, the first question that we are sort of thinking about, just in terms of sort of, AI, and the reason I wanted to underscore my presence here as well is, this is critical. So I used to be the CMO not long ago, and one of the key things that we realized, and that I wanted to share with all of you, is that when we are talking about AI in general and sort of marketing in particular, we are really talking about the root of what makes companies competitive. And that is problem solving. A large part of what you will be doing in your careers, it's great to have tools and it's great to have sort of machine learning and automation. But at the end of the day, great companies are built and great companies are run on solving really complex problems, both of size and scale, dimension, geographies, etc. So anyways, I've been, a long time, as I joke around, an accidental marketer, but mostly very astute, I would say, scrappy problem solver for a long time, and really excited that we are finally getting to a point where a lot of these concepts and computational stacks were very nascent when we first got involved in online marketing like 15 years ago. So it's incredible to see all of it coming to life. So I'm very excited to sort of talk through what we see in C2, but wanted to broaden our aperture and really talk about sort of, what are we really sort of talking about when we talk about AI and marketing. And to me, at least, as a thought starter, it's about, best in class problem solving. So anyways, I'll leave it there. Looking forward to diving in more. Pass it on to Josh.
Thanks, Amit. Just wanted to thank Bindu for including me on this esteemed panel. Some great brands here, Suku at Sumo Logic and Amit, 100 Flowers. Amazing things that these companies do in this field. My name is Josh Kivenko. I am the Chief Marketing Officer of Lifesize. We're a enterprise communications company, global enterprise communications company, specializing in video conferencing and meeting room solutions, but also collaboration, and then most recently merged with a contact center solution. So we're seeing a lot of convergence in the communications world and convergence in general across many industries. And that's what I'm going to talk to you about a little bit today in terms of where I see opportunity from a marketing perspective. But before I do, I think I have the complete inverse of experience from Amit, right? He's mentioned that he was an accidental marketer. He's been in B2C. Flip the coin on the other side. I've been a marketer forever, and I'm a late adopter of data science. So the opposite, and I'm a B2B guy, right? So, and we're typically late adopters in this space. So I could talk about the slow burn B2B adoption of this and where we're headed. And Bindu and I are working together a little bit on that and trying to figure that out and looking at our B2C cousins and seeing what we can pull out of what they do for our highly complex universe. And I would say, to answer the question around how I think AI can transform an organization, I look at it a little bit differently. And I have a few notes here and a lot of different thoughts on it. I come from a universe of consolidation. My last 6 or 7 years has been one of enterprise consolidation. And I actually see a massive opportunity in unlocking value in software companies all over the world, specifically software. There are others, but I'm only commenting on software right now, that are experiencing that kind of consolidation in whatever markets they're in. There's good stat here. $300 billion of invested VC capital in software companies since 2002. That's it with a B, US, okay? And that money, and it's probably more, that's a conservative swag at that. It's probably closer to $500 billion or more. And those funds are coming due, right? And not everybody is Facebook, right? Gonna unicorn IPO, and some of them flame out, right? But there's this whole middle set of them, the 6 to 8 that don't. And these are good companies with great markets, excellent customers, but they're not high double-digit, triple-digit growers. But there's still a massive opportunity to figure out where they belong as they consolidate. That's the world I live in, is that middle of that 6 to 7 set. And it's one that I really enjoy. And I believe there's a massive opportunity for data science, machine learning, to extract value when you can't just throw a whack of money at the problem, right? Like VC can throw a lot of money at the problem. Public markets can throw a lot of money at the problem, although perhaps a little bit more disciplined way. But when you get into this sort of consolidated market in this middle set, you need more discipline, you need more focus. So how, right? How? And we can get into this today in some of the questions if you want, but just some general thoughts here. Steady customer bases equal steady data equal better models. So a lot of these companies are already established, right? You can build steady models for them, and they have, some of them, years going back to 2002, decades of history that you can mine to find opportunity to prevent churn, upsell, lead generation, not to mention renewals is an interesting opportunity. Now, these may not be the sexiest things that you see every day and read every day about big data solving massive problems, But these are really important problems for marketers to solve, and the things that I'm looking at as well. We talked about consolidation, focus, market focus. When you're in hyper-competitive markets like the market I'm in right now, I mean, you think about the folks that I have to compete with in the contact center and the video communications market. I have to be crafty. I have to be focused, and having a data-driven mindset to that is the right way to go. And then I think I'd be remiss if I, as a marketing guy, B2B marketing guy here, if I didn't remind everybody that old adage, 70% of the buyer decision is made before the first call. We all know that one, right? By the time marketing gets it, they've already made up their mind. So what's the use anyway? We've all heard that one. Well, maybe we have an opportunity for marketers to take back a little bit more of that power, right? Through predicting buyer behavior and by delivering more relevant, personalized content before they've hit that 70% mark, or maybe reaching out into the market in an outbound capacity and reaching out for the better targets. So there you go, marketing guy through and through, B2B. Consolidation, I think, is where AI and machine learning has a massive opportunity to extract value. And I think tons of opportunities for marketers to invest their time, build their skills, and change the game here with AI.
Right. Suku, congrats on your recent big IPO. Great to have you as well.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Bindu. This is an interesting panel discussion. Thanks for including me. Likewise, Amit and Josh, a privilege to be speaking with you folks. Unlike Amit, like Josh, I'm a B2B guy. I've always been a B2B guy. I started my career in engineering, then into products for the longest time. Now I'd like to say I'm in the darkest side, which is running marketing. It's definitely been a journey. And if I think about, before I get into the AI and the machine learning, so what we do here at Sumo Logic, we have a SaaS service that ingests massive amounts of data from enterprises, and we deliver real-time insights for operations, security, business people to enable them to run their business better. So you can imagine we are talking petabytes of data. And in the mix of this, the folks that buy from us, right? The personas, very complex. Each of them have their own journey that they follow through before they make a decision. To Josh's point, you have to catch them while they're researching for platforms such as this. So I've always been a data-driven guy at heart, but increasingly when you're in a highly competitive market and your win or loss depends on catching those buyers early. That's really where data science comes into play. Data science, AI, it's also about having the right sets of data where you can uncover the patterns and get to these buyers before your competitor does. Bindu, to your point, we've also had many failures in trying to deploy and make sense out of this black magic of data. But some of the recent successes, I would say the innovation that we're trying to drive in our digital footprint. We are trying to catch these buyers based on what they do on the web, based on if there is a pattern of behaviors that you can see, perhaps potentially both online and offline. Being able to extrapolate that and identify those hand raisers, right? We've seen some success with personalizing messaging to our buyers. We have roughly 25, 26 discrete personas that we sell to. You have to speak different languages. So if we can identify who they are, what they care about, and where they are in their buyer's journey, you can have your web personalized for them. So we've seen some successes there. We're still learning. And the other one I would say is the work that we're doing with Bindu on Abacus. We are looking to predict these hand raisers based on a predictive model, lead scoring model. So we are making progress there. And going back to B2B competitive landscape, data science, it's almost a necessity. I think we all need to focus on how to do it right. Probably the focus on this panel as well. So thanks for having me here.
Great. Okay. This is fantastic. I think generally people, marketing is, I would say, a very central heartbeat of a company. I used to, be in, I know B2C a lot more than B2B, and I know B2C doesn't work without, a lot of, I would say, optimization, and I think AI is the heart of that. So I think the, kind of the first question we're going to first direct to Amit, and then we're going to talk to Suku and Josh about more, specifically AI and B2B companies. But Amit, there are multiple, my opinion, a humble opinion, is that without marketing, B2C companies fail today in today's day and world, because you have to go get your customers. Mostly customers don't come to you. I know Flowers has done a fantastic job of this over the last few years. What are the key marketing challenges you've faced? How have you overcome them? Has AI helped in some way to date, or you think, well, it'll help tomorrow, in the future? By the way, you're on mute.
So first of all, I appreciate sort of the core marketing challenge that I think a lot of people on this call will relate to. It's a two-sided optimization problem in many ways, because what's essentially happening in marketing is that for most companies, increasingly also in the B2B landscape, they are working with very sophisticated performance stacks on the audience platforms. So whether you are, buying display or search through Google and Facebook, whether you are increasingly even buying TV, you are basically shipping data, and you are shipping inferences and hypotheses about data, right? So you have this very sophisticated way of fishing. The way I think about it in a simplistic manner is that we are going out and fishing in a very sophisticated manner, that if you watch XYZ movies, TV shows, you have the following demos, you have the following digital crumbles that you have left online, and hence you might belong to one of, let's say, Suku's 15 personas, right? The problem is that once that sophistication is employed, and we bring them to an experience, let's say a website or mobile site, it is what I call some of the most sophisticated wasted convergence, right? So you have bought this 16 people, and I'm sure a lot of people on this call also spend gobs of time. What is the home page that we are going to bring it to? What is the landing page, right? But you've just gone and shown to the nth cut of someone's attributional data density, some ad on Facebook. You exactly know what were the inferences that led to that display creative. So why are you bringing them back to a one size fits none page, I call it, right? So the optimization is a double-sided problem. It is not just in how we fish, but how we have our customers experience ourselves as a brand as well, right? So this is the more subtler unlock. A lot of people will build the first order AI models that will help them acquire customers better. But how do you first of all provide a best-in-class engagement that is personalized and optimized to their intent-seeking behavior? And then how do you extract out the highest possible CLV from that outcome, right? So that is, it's so the optimization, when we talk about, we have to be very clear about the nature of optimization we are seeking. And increasingly what we are finding is that the most sophisticated marketers are treating this optimization problem as a double-sided or multi-sided problem, right? You can also say in two-sided networks. So we run a floral network with 4,000 local florists on it. We have just introduced a platform for them to actually, buy much more just-in-time supplies, right? So one of the models that we are looking at is how do you make this super personalized based on how we are acquiring those people, how they are coming to the site. But once they have experienced us, how do we draw sophisticated inferences on their continuous journey with us, right? So if you think about marketing as a full journey experience outcome, all of these are problem statements that AI can help resolve, right? So this is so what, again, going back to the first principles, what I'll urge everyone to think about when we think about marketing challenges in B2C, it's not, the question you should be asking is what are the opportunities of solution using AI, not what problems do I need to fit to AI, because again, your job is to solve problems. This is a very sophisticated catalyst to solve problems. The question is, are you really engaging and utilizing it versus just focused on the problem per se? How do you use this as a tool, right? So I've coined a very simple exercise for people to think about. I call it the ABCDs of AI in marketing, right? So it's very simple. It starts with having a proper articulation of the problem. A lot of times, as I'm sure Bindu, you experience, I'm sure other people on this call experience, someone comes and says, apply AI to, my Zoom conference being more palatable. Well, it cannot be applied. You have not articulated the problem well, right? So I think teams need to spend some time, that's the A for me. You have to articulate the problem well, right? I think the B to me is there has to be a proper buying. I see a lot of people operating in silos, and that's okay if you're doing a skunkworks project or something, but you should have some buy-in, either from the operator side or the, even better from the CFO suite, someone who is going to be outside of just your function, because you will, ultimately more complex problems have multiple stakeholders and multiple sensitivities, right? So you want to get some buy-in. By C, it's very simple. I talk about competency. You need to have basic competency when you're talking about AI and ML. And so a lot of people on this call, like I would rely on them and their sort of articulation of the problem as important barometers of that competency. But if you don't, you need to either you need to at least have some interface of competency in the marketing team, right? And this is, including people who might think that they are of the creative bent, why are we dealing with data? No, you're dealing with problem solving. So even on creative, and we'll go through some of the examples and talk about it, you can really apply this ML models actually at a very sophisticated level, right? And then the last one I would say, which I think, there is one question posted in the Q&A, talks about it. You need to be very good about data, right? Like you need to be data, if not data first, at least data aware. Like you cannot come to this dance and sort of not have an opening ticket. The opening ticket has some, not petabytes, but has some bytes, right? So you need to have, I think, basic data fidelity and data awareness to do this. But again, all ABCD that I've said has nothing to do with, high level neural models or very sophisticated. These are very simple ways that you can get started. And you must get started to what Suku was saying. It is because it's an imperative now. You cannot just coexist with other companies doing machine learning. You need to evolve with them. So that's my message.
Great. I like that ABCDs of figuring out how to do great marketing. So and this question, I think I would have the same question at some level to both Suku and Josh, because they have a slightly, I mean, they're both in the software space, and they're both doing B2B. But here's how I think about it. Tell me if this is right. I feel like today B2B is still largely direct sales, right? I mean, especially when it comes to kind of like selling the kind of services that you sell. Maybe Josh it's still, it's somewhat 50-50. There's still marketing playing a big role. But over the next couple of years, I feel like marketing will be a force multiplier, as I call it, in B2B. There's only that much you can do with direct sales because the margins aren't there. And to make marketing a force multiplier, like, kind of the 10x thing, what should B2B companies do when it comes to marketing? What can they do, which is just that big jump? Because I feel like B2C companies, and Amit's company, for example, actually, I would say is at heart a very good, a great marketing company, right? On B2B, we're still getting there. What are your thoughts on that? Maybe Suku, or who wants to go first?
Josh, I can go.
Suku, go ahead.
Yeah, go for it. So Bindu, to your point, B2B, at the heart of it, given the competitive environment, you're right. B2C is probably ahead in terms of personalizing and driving the reach to these individual buyers, but B2B definitely is getting there. 40 to 50% is not unreachable in terms of contribution, but then therein lies the issue of what boardrooms today look at marketing from a B2B standpoint is they look at us as a growth driver. Gone are those days when marketing is viewed as a cost center, right? Or a classic go run an event or drive a brand. It's really, we need to grow 40, 50% year over year. Marketing, how is it that you can help? Either the direct sales or the channel sales or the digital sales get there. The traditional inverted funnel, my viewpoint is going to be obsolete at some point in time, because the buyers, their buying behavior, the patterns and the venues where they're buying, it's all non-linear. And you can't say we'll do marketing to a buyer up until here and then sales will take on. It is a non-linear continuous loop, right? So that means that for marketing to continue to drive the growth, Amit hit the nail on the head, which is we have to be better problem solvers. We have to figure out, first of all, what is the right problem to solve that'll unlock growth, and then go solve it. And without AI and without the deep learning and the machine learning, we don't have the tools today to figure out which segment do we need to actually go after to drive the growth. On the other hand, there is significant push for demonstrating ROI from marketing activities, right? Marketing strategic, okay, we'll give you the money, show me ROI. And for us to, in a given dollar, what is the maximum that you can get out of it is you can't go by the traditional tools and analytics. There's a ton of data out there, but you have to go one level deeper. You have to really figure out the patterns and deploy that dollar for the maximum return. So not a lot of difference, I would say, in B2B, B2C in terms of the problems we're trying to solve. But it's critical that we as marketers think about, how do I unlock that insight? What type of data do I need? How do I figure out which markets to go after? So I think AI can help us a lot there.
Yeah, Suku, that's well said. and listening to you, not oftentimes I get a moment to breathe and think about how complex our jobs are, right? I mean, you covered like probably 4 of 12 disciplines of things that we're all tackling every day. And certainly analytics has an opportunity to change all of those elements. So choosing the right one is so critical, particularly as a marketing leader, right? What I do want to caution the audience about, I'm seeing some questions here, and I'm not scolding anybody. I'm just I'm observing, and I'm now on this side of my career. I guess I get the opportunity to offer advice. Let's not use these technologies as a solution looking for a problem, right? That's not what they're there for, okay? They're not toys. They're not science projects, right? They're meant to solve real world problems. So it's not about being an AI-driven company, right? It's about being a marketing organization that's solving problems, and it has many arrows in its quiver to solve those problems. I happen to be one, a late adopter, if you will, one that's convinced that that data in some way, shape, or form has the answer. Let me get into more specifics there and answer your question directly, Bindu. Where can AI help do my job better? So as a marketer, I've always believed that my job is to connect a company's value with customer need. At its barest form, that's what it is. Company's value, customer need, connect them together. And so I think the tools that I've mentioned give us an understanding to go a little bit deeper into the right value and the right customer. So you can go deeper into both. So customer value, smash them together. So the old way is just smash them together and see what comes out the bottom, right? And everything else is just noise, and then rinse and repeat. And maybe you develop a little bit of muscle memory and do it better. The new way is to to find the right value and the right need and start connecting them together in a better configured puzzle. More foundationally for me, because I'm in a considered purchase world, high 7, high 6, 7, even 8-figure deals where there's a lot of touches, right? You got to reach 17 people with 21 emails, whatever all that BS is that we all tout. But it's still considered purchase, and I think my role now, in this next phase of my career, being a data-driven marketer, is to take the considered purchase and turn it into the predicted purchase, right? Let's not absolve ourselves of the responsibility of, it's going to be a lot of people, and it's got to get to the CFO or CIO anyway, so, who cares about what, all this fancy marketing? At the end of the day, it's going to be how a salesperson performs. And I think that absolves us as B2B marketers of our responsibility to get to that higher order predicted purchase. And then let me be really practical here. I know it sounds a little bit ethereal, but let me be really practical. I'll just give you a quick list, and then I'll hand it back to you, Bindu. Mining existing customer data, massive value, as I've mentioned, to help you find that next buyer, but also to expand that relationship. Let's not give up on the lifetime value of that customer. How they're using your products, how they're engaging with your content is a marker of how perhaps they could grow, and then you replicate that with the next customer, and your models can help you there. Automate broken and inefficient fractured processes. You think about where there's friction. Think about where there's friction in a B2B org: CS, renewal, contact center, lead scoring, contact delivery. There's always a person touching that. Wherever there's a person touching it, a partner like Abacus could help at least contemplate a model that may reduce the friction and help you be more efficient. Sales reps never use up to 90% marketing content. And I spent my career in PowerPoint. And to think that 90% of everything that I've ever produced has never been consumed. Now, while that might be true, it's our job to find ways to fix that. And I think, once again, Amit made mention of that in his world. I think getting the right content at the right time, whether that's homepage or PowerPoint page, right? Could be anything. And then I think the last one I shared, let me be shameless promotion for my own LinkedIn feed, my horrible LinkedIn feed for a second, because I'm a marketing guy. I just shared a Tom Davenport article that I thought was salient for now, which is about bringing external data in to your models. I'm like, guilty as charged. I do use external data, but not in my models. I think that's a cross that I'm going to have to bear, particularly now, right? Particularly now, when we're dealing with the past that looks nothing like today and tomorrow, right? And in my world, especially. So with that, Bindu, I hope I answered your question.
This is great. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to ask each of you one question different from the other, just so that we can actually, kind of get through some of these questions within the time that we have. So, I mean, let's first start with, I guess, Amit, because we're going a little bit kind of round robin. And the question really, Amit, for you specifically is, I mean, my own experience implementing projects in AI, ML, and whether it's marketing or not, tends to be that ML kind of succeeds 1% of the time, unfortunately, for many, many different reasons. The data isn't there, the right team isn't partnered with, sometimes the data scientists don't get a model which is actionable. So what is your kind of like, whether it's 2-point or 3-point, what is the approach that organizations should take that from going for, so that they can move from 1 to at least say 30% success, right? Because otherwise there is no ROI today in AI. How would you recommend they go about doing that? In a sensible way. What problem should they, what type of problem should they attack? And B, who should they partner or not, or what have you?
That's a very good question. So, I'll quickly take a couple of minutes to lay out how to go about it. I think, look, the first thing that starts with is, I think there is a sense that we should only use AI and ML for the hardest problems, right? Like it's the most complex, most level of data fidelity issues, most complex outcomes, so it's almost like setting yourself up for failure, right? So I go back to, again, talking about this first principles. This articulation of the problem is so important, because the same way, and this is my prediction, like not even 10 years down the road, 5 years down the road, most of us, when we join a company, for example, right now, you will get a suite of applications like Excel, Word, maybe the Google suite, etc. In the next 5 years, you'll be expected to have an AI ML, and the organizations will provide those plumbing and those software, because problem solving advantage for a company will become so important that your familiarity with it, your ability to articulate, is the same way as I'm sure some of us who started the career in the computational stage at this level, you'd use like a TI-82 calculator, right? Which seems insane now, right? But we used to literally go through very complex computations using that, right? So this evolution, I think, starts with a proper articulation of the problem and looking at this almost as a muscle building exercise, not a win-loss exercise, right? When you start thinking of that as you are building a skill set, you are increasing, what I refer to as your learning quotient, right? So when I started my career, for example, at McKinsey 20 years ago, I used to hire for IQ, right? And then you realize after some time that those people make horrible colleagues because they have no EQ. So then we started mixing IQ and EQ. But really in the last 4 or 5 years, I've stopped hiring for that. I only now look at, what's your learning quotient? What's your adaptability to learning, right? What's your ability to ingest external models and external ways of solving a problem? Because the half-life of functional knowledge that you might come in, including in marketing, and especially in marketing, it's compressing very fast, right? Even the ways of doing marketing now with sophisticated platforms is changing very quickly, right? So you need to refresh yourself. So the same way, this is again going back to what I said, ABCDs, like keep it very simple. Do not try to, hit like really complex problem, because you first need to get all of these parts working together. Take simple problems, because even the simple problems can have a high payoff, right? So for example, even recommendation systems and things like that, which are far more simple problems, right? So, that's my key sort of insight here. Articulate the problem well, keep it simple, make sure the surface area is something that builds internal competency, and then trust this process, right? Like if I think about even 10 years ago, a lot of people, when they first even got organizational data, right? Google Analytics of what happens on the website, it took 5-7 years to even come up with how to ingest at that understanding. So we are still in very early phases, but had we, set up the same bar for analytics, we would not have gotten there, right? Like I still have, I spend half my day some days trying to just add up what everyone claims as the sales done. Like it's insane. Like we are in 25th year of well-known e-commerce stats, right? But so that's why I'm still pushing people to like embrace this, set yourself up for success versus failure, articulate the problem well, and really see this as a long-term investment in building your basic bench strength and muscle memory versus, let me find the toughest data science problem and, only machine learning can solve that. So that's what I would say.
Right. Okay, so I have two questions. I'm going to ask one question, I think of Suku, because I know he's, actually wrangling with this issue, and then one of Josh, and then we'll wrap it. And I'll ask the first question. I'll actually ask both questions and then have Suku and then Josh answer it. The question really is, okay, great. We all, I think, more or less agree, and I think most marketing, thought leaders would agree that AI ML will play a very key role, right? So how should, what about the talent in your teams, right? How do you approach it? I know Suku's been thinking about that, which is why I want to ask him the question. And then Josh about, and I know Josh is thinking about this question, which is, how do you, in any organization, one part of it is building the model and getting AI to be predictive, but another part of it is changing the, process, changing the business process, kind of changing behavior within teams, whether it's sales teams, like having to look at lead scores and stuff like that. So first question, Suku, for you, what should the, right talent mix be? If a marketing organizations hire data scientists, what should you look for? What is your recommendation to our audience? And then the second question, Josh, is how does marketing work well with sales? Because in B2B especially, both have to kind of work together to make things happen, right? So yeah, take it away.
Yeah, I think the first question, on what sorts of talent we need to achieve what we need to achieve, which is problem solving. Let me underscore what Amit was mentioning. I subscribe to a similar philosophy, which is you got to fail fast, you got to fail often. In fact, at a weekly staff meeting, if one of the members don't come up with an answer on what they failed on, it's a red flag for me. So that ties into the type of talent that you need. What happens as your organization grows bigger? What happens that the functional mentality kicks in, right? You're trying to optimize a marketing qualified lead, or you're trying to optimize a customer satisfaction score, or you're trying to optimize the volume of pipeline. So we become very siloed. But optimizing a silo is not your end goal. Your end goal is to drive revenue or grow or retain your customers. You have to take simple problems that are cross-functional. So the talent that I would look for, be it with the title of data science or an analytics person or ops person, somebody that has the appetite to think about problems cross-functionally. And even if it's a thin sliver of data that you take from the problem that we are trying to grapple with in the project we are doing is tying a lead all the way back to closed won revenue or a loss, right? And what patterns that you're seeing there. So we need talent that have the appetite to think from a business standpoint. It is very critical requirement. Secondly, I fundamentally believe 80% of the problems can be solved with one or two key critical solutions that that can solve the problem. So you need people that can prioritize and pick the right problem to solve. So that means that you got to have end-to-end thinking. So I would say really it's cross-functional leaders that need to be brought in, and they need to be empowered to use the data and the intelligence and the AI to solve these problems. So it is not functional, but cross-functional talent is what we need.
Great. Josh? And we have 3 minutes.
Yeah, thanks, Bindu. So in typical debate fashion, I'm not going to answer your question. I'm going to answer a question that I want to answer.
That sounds great. Go for it.
You didn't know what you were getting into when you invited me, Bindu. You didn't know. So no. So just quickly, I like to hire hustlers. I think these guys are being modest. I like hustlers, and they embody all the things that Amit and Suku just said. Right? Folks who have energy, folks who just that aren't in the business of collecting proprietary information, and then that's the extent of their value. These are folks that can actually do something with the knowledge that is now completely democratized. Everything's democratized. So now it's applied knowledge. That's the premium, right? And to me, in layperson's terms, that's hustlers. Now, to answer your question quickly, how to business process re-engineering or changing the way companies. I mean, I couldn't have said it better than Amit, although I'll try. Right? You have to solve a real business problem. That's really what it comes down to, right? You can't go into a data analytics or apply data analytics to something and just be happy, satisfied with the results because you're using Python, right? You have to tie it back to does the answer make sense? Is it reasonable? And does it help solve the problem that we're trying to solve? And 100% agree with Amit. You don't have to go in and do something revolutionary. You don't, as a CMO, and I can speak to these guys, I'll speak for these guys. Singles and doubles are good. I love singles and doubles, right? For baseball folks, sorry if you're elsewhere in the world, right? Right? Singles and doubles are fine. You don't have to have a home run on every swing. And more practically, as you're pursuing those I don't know the cricket term for a single, right? What is it? One pitcher or something? I don't know cricket. But I'm trying to be global.
It's a single and a double.
It's a single and a double. There we go. Okay, good. But bring your data to the test. Don't throw. Okay, we've got our models. Now just throw everything else. Right? Throw the deterministic stuff away, or throw the whatever we had away, and now we're going to run with the machine learning model. No, run them in parallel. Run them in parallel with each other and do a bake-off. I assure you, if you do that, your machine learning models will get better and better and better, and your team will learn to trust this new approach that may be foreign to them. Last piece, you'll be surprised how receptive people are to applying machine learning to the things that you're doing every day. There's a hunger, there's some fear, there's some hunger for people to learn and be associated with this success. And so you may get some data silos and things like that on the periphery, but real business folks, they don't care how it gets done. They just want success.
Great. Great, thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Josh, Suku, and Amit for this fantastic first session. I think, we actually, we wanted to keep the session as much about marketing as it's about AI. I feel very good that we've done that. Thanks for attending, and thanks for, sharing your insights. So we're going to close this session for now, and Bill is going to run a quick raffle, and hopefully we'll get started on the next session about 2 to 3 minutes, maybe 5 minutes late, let's say, at around 10:22 or 10:23. So